But first, breaking tonight, just as the NBA season tips off, a serious gambling scandal is rocking the league. A player for the Miami Heat and the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers are among more than 30 people accused of schemes involving illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by organized crime. Correspondent Nate Foy has details tonight, live from New York. Good evening, Nate.
Hey, Brett, good evening. So there are two indictments at play here. One includes two former NBA players and coaches accused of conspiring with the mafia in an illegal rigged poker scheme. The other involves an active NBA player accused of faking an injury on the court as part of a sports gambling scheme. That player is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. Federal authorities arrested him in Orlando this morning. He appeared in court today. Rozier's accused of exiting a 2023 game with a phantom foot injury so that he and his co-conspirators, including his childhood friend, could make tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, NBA Hall of Famer and current head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, Chauncey Billups, appeared in Portland federal court today. Billups is accused of coordinating with the mafia during rigged poker games where victims lost more than $7 million over 6 years. Prosecutors say they used this shuffling machine to cheat. They also allegedly used X-ray tables to secretly view cards. But that's not all, Brett. The indictment reads in part, quote, the defendants also utilized other cheating technologies, such as electronic poker chip trays that could secretly read cards placed on the poker table, and playing cards that had markers visible only to individuals wearing specially designed contact lenses or sunglasses. Former NBA player and coach Damon Jones is listed in both indictments, so that means he's accused of partaking in the illegal rigged poker games and selling insider information for NBA bets.
This is the insider trading saga for the NBA. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
The NBA said both Billups and Rozier have been placed on leave from their respective teams immediately. This is also the same investigation that resulted in a lifetime ban for former Toronto Raptors player Jontay Porter, who admitted to altering his play during games. He's set to be sentenced in December. Brett?
Nate, thank you.
Let's bring in Joshua Ritter, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and a Fox News contributor. Joshua, great to have you on. I want to play this soundbite because I think it's fascinating. This is the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, but it was 2 days ago on the Pat McAfee show, and he's talking about gambling and how it needs to be reined in. Watch this.
But we've asked some of our partners to pull back some of the prop bets, especially when they're on two-way players, guys who don't have the same stake in the competition, where, you know, it's too easy to manipulate something which seems otherwise small and inconsequential to the overall score. We're trying to put in place, and learning as we go, and working with the betting companies, some additional controls to prevent sort of some of that manipulation.
He's trying to talk about the prop bets there, which we talked about earlier, you know, meaning, hey, how many, if you talk about somebody like Terry Rozier, how many points is he going to get? How many rebounds? How many, you know, assists and so forth? And if it's over or under, you win a certain amount of money. And then the players are accused of manipulating that, Josh.
Yeah. Do you think he thought something might be coming?
Right,
I mean,
right.
It sounds a lot like it. It's exactly what we're talking about here, is that this is a stat that no one, you and I, a casual viewer of the NBA, is going to pay attention to. Whether or not one player goes over or under on his time played or the amount of points that he has. But to people betting, it can be a big bet. And especially if they have inside information that he might be pulling himself out of the game early, the consequences could be millions of dollars in Vegas.
Yeah, and the thing to me is, you know, you look at both of these different cases and you look at the poker one and you're like, yeah, I mean, this is the mafia. I mean, it's egregious, really bad. And, you know, but it's been going on for a lot of years. They're using new technology to cheat in poker and using coaches to lure other, you know, high, big whales in, as they're known in Vegas, the big gamblers. But this NBA thing, I mean, it goes to the very integrity of the game, Josh.
Absolutely. I think that part of it is going to have consequences way beyond today. I mean, you're right. A shady card game taking place in some back room of a bar. A lot of people are going to worry about that years from now. But the integrity of the NBA and whether or not players are involved in throwing games and the consequences this could have in Vegas, this is going to have ramifications for years to come.
And it's interesting because you talk about, well, his buddies were betting $10,000 on this, and this person was betting this, and you're thinking, listen, you got a guy like Terry Rozier was making $26 million a year. What are you spending, what are you ruining your career for, allegedly, for $10,000 so your buddy can win?
It makes no sense. We were talking about this earlier. I don't understand it. What is the appeal? Is it just that they're interested in the hustle of it, that they can't take themselves out of that excitement of being involved in the betting somehow, or having this inside information? But you're right, they're making millions of dollars. This is not the kind of money that you would expect for them to make these types of decisions about.
I want to play this very quickly. This is Stephen A. Smith, and he's talking about bringing a little political stuff into this whole mix. Watch.
Trump is coming. Don't be surprised if the WNBA is next on his list. We've seen athletes get in trouble with the law before. You don't see the director of the FBI having a press conference. It's not coincidental. It's not an accident. It's a statement. Talk to people in the NBA. Talk to people in the NFL. Talk to people in the world of sports. They think this is like the tip of the iceberg.
It's not just a little bit of this and that, what Stephen A. One thing, it began under the Biden administration. Nate Floyd was talking about one of these poker games in 2019, began a long time ago. The other thing, it goes to the very integrity of the entire NBA, which is a multi-billion-dollar sport around the world.
I do agree with Stephen A. at least on one point, that I do think it's the tip of the iceberg. I can't imagine. Too. I mean, every time you look at these federal indictments, you got to look at who are the unindicted co-conspirators that may not even be named. Right. Those are people cooperating, and there could be more information coming.
You wonder the big names. I mean, that's the whole thing, is we've gotten these names, but as this investigation gets deeper and you start looking at more different bets along the way, the name list tends to go up.
It seems to me like this is more of a mob story that found some NBA players and a coach, former player, who were playing along. I mean, literally put out as like bait in the water to draw suckers in from all across America. But millions of dollars involved. What'd you think?
Well, I do think that they said it was a multi-year operation. Yeah. One of the names of the operation was called Operation Royal Flush. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they get kind of creative there. I thought Christopher Raya, who is the deputy director, I can't remember his exact title, the way he laid it all out was very impressive. And clearly, they had great coordination. They had no leaks, and this is a story. This is one for the ages, and we have great guests for you: Clay Travis, Donna Rotuno, former FBI supervisory agent James Gagliano, and Jim Gray. Thank you all for being here. Donna, let's maybe just go to you first on the legal front, since you were there right before this press conference. What did you take away? Big surprises? Anything?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of big surprises. Frankly, that sounded like we were watching a movie. I mean, just the amount of people involved, the extent at which they went to perpetrate this, from the fraud to the cameras under the tables to cameras in chandeliers to, it really did sound like we were listening to Goodfellas or something. It was really quite extraordinary. I think we have to remember there's two totally separate indictments here, and although they came out on the same day and there's some overlap, we have one dealing with NBA betting and then we have one dealing with crime families and poker games. And so there really are two separate issues to discuss here. And, they happen to come out on the same day, but they are two separate indictments, and we have to look at them separately, because the NBA betting, although they didn't talk about it as much, I think that's going to have a larger impact on society as a whole than even the poker games involving certain people and certain groups. But the betting has an implication on many people who bet on online gambling, platforms, and the trust that people have for regular fans. And I'm sure Clay will talk about this, but regular fans of the NBA, people who love sports, people who want to watch sports, people who want to believe that the game is not rigged. These have major implications.
Yeah. Let's give everybody a crack at the apple, and then we'll dive further in, Donna. Well done. James, what did you hear for the past 45 minutes?
Bill, I have to say, I think the lead was buried. I mean, they're going to show pictures of Jones and Rozier and Billups and the NBA logo because obviously that's what kind of sucks everybody in, where you go, wow, these are rich people, they're famous people, and they were involved in an illegal gambling activity. Here's the buried lead. It's the fact that the mob is back. We've long thought of La Cosa Nostra, the 5 families of New York, and I worked on the Gambino squad when I was an FBI agent, as being on the way out. Well, 3/5 of them, only the Lucchese's and the Colombos, are sitting down right now saying, how did we not get a piece of this? But this is a fascinating case, and 31 subjects in one of them and 6 in the other. This is going to be an interesting case to follow going forward.
Jim Gray, thank you for being here. The NBA cooperated. That was one of the last questions that we had there. And you know, there's so many strings to pull. The sweater could unravel pretty quickly. Your takeaway?
Well, all of these sports leagues, and in this instance the NBA, are dependent on the games being real, not being fixed. Once you lose the confidence of the public that the games are not real and that they can be thrown, then you have just a huge, huge issue, and that's the biggest concern here. When you have a current NBA player who's involved, and Chauncey Billups now, not accused of throwing games or doing anything to rig that game, but playing in poker, it just eats at the credibility and the integrity, and it's very dangerous and very problematic.
Yeah. Clay, your take?
2 things. One, I bet there's some guys watching us right now who said, I knew I wasn't that bad at poker, I mean, the details here. This sounds like, I think Donna said it, a Hollywood movie in the rigged nature of the way the Mafia was taking advantage of these guys. I mean, I jotted down, they called the quarterback, the guy sitting at the table who was signaling cards. They had the face cards, which were the athletes potentially drawing in these gamblers. And then in particular, Jess Tisch, who was with the New York Police Department, signaled out Terry Rozier. I jotted this down, guys. Told everybody he was going to leave the game early, left after 9 minutes. $200,000, she said, was wagered on the under. That is, that he's not going to be able to achieve whatever the prop bets were on that particular game. And then she said the proceeds were delivered to his house where they counted the cash. Now, $200,000, guys, sounds like a lot of money to normal people. He's making $26.6 million this year, Rozier is. He's made in his career $160 million. This is mind-numbingly stupid. He may be in prison for years now, but the dollars at stake here are a pinprick of what he made almost per game. So this is a mess for the NBA. And again, it goes to what Jim said. The integrity of the game itself is what fans rely on. And when you got players who are making decisions like this, you have to wonder how much bigger could this be.
James, I want to play for everybody here. This is the NYPD commissioner about the poker games and some of the shenanigans that were going on.
Victims believed that they were sitting at a fair table. Instead, they were cheated out of millions. One victim in particular lost $1.8 million. In total, losses exceeded $7 million and continue to climb. And when people refused to pay, these defendants did what organized crime has always done. They used threats, they used intimidation, and they used violence. It's the same pattern that we have seen for decades. Traditional mob enforcement methods combined with new technology to expand the reach of their operations.
James, there's so many different questions here. One, I think the sheer amount of coordination amongst all of the different entities is impressive, but also what you said earlier is something that we said while we were watching. Like, we thought the Mafia had kind of gone away, and that's not the case. And sports betting was always something that was lingering out there, but now it's legal. So tell me a little bit more about how they reconstituted over the last several years.
Sure. So Dana, 34 years ago, a number of us FBI agents in the New York office stood along the same causeway right there when John Gotti was convicted of murder, extortion, racketeering, and illegal gambling activities. and you listen to how this happened, I mean, the violence that's attached to this, it's not just fraud, but the conspiracy also included Hobbs Act extortion. So this is straight out of Goodfellas. And to put a fine point on your question, look, the mob, La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours, it's been around a long time. It came here to the shores when Italian Americans immigrated from 1892 to 1943 and ended up on Ellis Island. They are not going away. It's a game of whack-a-mole. The more that we put pressure on them, the NYPD, the FBI, and other groups get our attention, they come back and reconstitute.
All right, here's soundbite number 2, guys. This is a U.S. attorney. This is Joseph Nocella, okay? He's talking about the operation that they use. What you referred to, Clay. Listen here.
They used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table.
Donna, how much do you know about an investigation like that and what it entails based on time and manpower?
Oh, the amount of hours, the amount of manpower, the amount of subpoena power, the things that had to go into this were enormous. The amount of time spent, look at the number of people just standing at that press conference. I don't think we've ever seen a press conference with that many different areas of law enforcement and that many people involved. It's actually nice to see the agencies working together and being able to pool their resources and come up with these answers for us. This was really quite extensive, and I think we're going to see as this plays out and the evidence is revealed what truly went into this, and I think it's going to be extraordinary.
Jim, what do you think Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is thinking right now?
Well, I think he's beyond concerned. They just had 2 great nights in the NBA. Victor Wembanyama came back for the San Antonio Spurs, and we saw on opening night a double overtime game that was just terrific between the champion OKC team, the Thunder, against the Houston Rockets. And so now he's got this on his plate. And he made a comment in one of the interviews that he did that he had been working with gaming companies, or that the NBA had wanted to work with gaming companies on these prop bets. So he knows that it's an issue. And if you can believe these statistics, Dana and Bill, that are printed, $147 billion. $147 billion was wagered on sports in this country, $84 billion supposedly illegally. So the leagues used to have an arm's length from all of this, and in recent years, because of this proliferation, they've started to embrace it. Not their players, obviously, and the coaches, but the public, and putting up betting lines up. And so all of this has changed dramatically very, very quickly. And what Clay said, this is really small amounts of money compared to what these guys are making, particularly in the case of Rozier. It's astonishing that somebody would risk going to jail, losing all of this money that they can make to bet on these things. It's insanity.
Yeah, to all of you, thank you. Clay, I know you'll be on the radio later probably talking a lot about this, but terrific stuff, guys.
Thank you.
Like on-the-fly reaction there. We'll see where it goes. Thanks. We were sitting here talking about who's going to write this book.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to write the screenplay for it? There's more to be discovered here, I think. I mean, we're just scratching the surface here, and
because 29 people were arrested, and
30, yes,
we know that of 30. And Rozier is going to appear in court today, and probably others. So we're just at the beginning of this story, and it's a fascinating one, indeed.
Yes, I thought that quote that Jessica Tisch had. But Rozier's been under investigation in the past, and they cleared him. He said he's been benched not for injury, but for integrity. He'll be in Orlando today in court.
Indeed. All right.
We're going to start, in the meantime, with the other big story of the day. That's Operation Royal Flush and Operation Nothing But Net. 2 bombshells, one of them rocking the NBA. An FBI gambling bust involving high-profile basketball stars and the Mafia. Suspects are accused of rigging bets and setting up illegal poker games. Let's take a look at the two operations over at the wall. The first is Operation Nothing But Net. This was a sports gambling scheme involving several stars in the NBA. It happened between December of 2022 and March of 2024. It involved 6 different defendants, nicknames like Spook, Vez, Sugar. There was Damon Jones, a noted NBA player, and Scary Terry, who is Terry Rozier himself, to place bets over-under, more or less, on how many points that particular player may score on a given night. The charges include wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering. Now, if convicted, each of these defendants could face a maximum of 20 years each. Here's how it played out, and here's what it means for the NBA. Several games we know were alleged to have been affected. March 2023, the Charlotte Hornets game, Terry Rozier tipped off and left the game within 9 minutes of being on the floor. That info was used to place, we know, or it's alleged, a $200,000 bet. In a 2023 game, Portland Trail Blazers game, an insider gave info that the Blazers' top player would sit out the game, and that was used to wage $100,000. And then in April of the same year, during an Orlando Magic game, relationships were leveraged for a Magic player that several of the team's top players would sit out, and then we know an at least $11,000 bet was placed. So it also included 4 and 5 games of the Los Angeles Lakers between February of 2023 and January of 2024. Damon Jones shared insider info on lineup decisions and medical information that was used to place wagers. There was also Toronto Raptors games as well involved, where Chauncey Porter told a co-conspirator that he would exit the game early, allowing people to place bets within the game. Now, I mentioned there was also Operation Royal Flush. This is where, again, several high-profile NBA players helped rig poker games. This entire scheme involved 4 of the 5 major Italian mafia families of New York, the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor.
Rigged shuffling machines, cameras embedded into chip trays, X-ray tables that could read cards from underneath, all designed so that everyone at the table was in on the scam except for the mark who could lose millions of dollars at the poker table. The NBA is cooperating reportedly with this investigation and the FBI. Now, on the screen, you just heard from my next guest. That's FBI New York Assistant Director in Charge, Christopher Rayer. Christopher, thanks for being with us here today. I think in the time that we have together, which is short, unfortunately, I want to ask you 2 questions. Number one, how did this start? How did this entire thing hit the radar of the FBI?
Yeah, this actually started, first of all, Will, thanks for having me. This actually started as a spinoff from one of our previous cases, and you had mentioned the Chauncey Porter case, and you're familiar with that case. So we got to digging into that, did some more investigation, follow-on investigation like we see, and we uncovered these new pathways or these new leads, and we're able to bring it to fruition like you saw today, which is a culmination of 2 years of investigative work.
Chauncey Porter, a former NBA player who got in trouble for gambling. I'm curious then, was Porter helpful in then setting off this investigation? Was he a cooperator in this investigation?
Well, as you know, Will, I can't comment one way or the other on that. I will tell you, as a result of the investigation from that, from the Chauncey Porter investigation, that's what launched us into this other investigation.
Okay. I don't know if you can help me answer this question as well at this point, but there is a suspicion, there's a feeling out there, Christopher, that this is a bit of a tip of the iceberg situation when it comes to sports gambling. Is there more coming from the FBI?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Will. I will tell you, in cases like this, traditionally, this really is the tip of the iceberg. We have more investigation to do. We have more interviews to do. Obviously, cooperators are going to come out of this. We see these investigations, whether it's Italian organized crime, Eurasian organized crime, or illegal gambling. We oftentimes find that there is more to it than just this initial salvo, if you will. So we're going to keep we're going to keep our foot to the pedal, our pedal to the metal on this, and we're going to continue to investigate this along with the rest of the 5 families that are operating here in New York.
Beyond the 5 families, which in and of itself, as an FBI agent, you probably get here tired of people suggesting it's made for another Hollywood movie, but it truly is in this case. But I'm curious from the NBA angle, is there more? Will there be other NBA players who will be investigated?
You know, I think only time will tell. I think only time will tell. We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to investigate folks, and we're going to see how systemic is this problem. I think that's the biggest question right now. Is this a systemic problem in the NBA, or is this an isolated incident? And there's a lot of work that needs to get done in the next days, weeks, months to try to answer that question.
Okay. We hope you'll continue to keep us informed as you begin to answer those questions. Thanks for being with us. Sorry that our time was cut short today, but we're glad to have you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Will.
18 past the hour now, and some breaking news on this story in the NBA. Watch this now. It's still developing. It's our understanding that there are arrests being made actively as we speak. This is rocking the league. The FBI arresting a coach in Portland, as well as current and former players. We expect to learn more 40 minutes from now with a news conference from the FBI. Nate Foy's live in Brooklyn, where that news conference will take place. And Nate, good morning to you. What do we know so far? Hello.
Hey, Bill, good morning. Yeah, all eyes will be on that news conference at the top of the hour, as right now we're learning at least 31 people with sports ties and mafia ties so far have been arrested as part of an FBI investigation into illegal sports betting in the NBA and also an illegal poker scheme. Now, the big name coach and player, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups, as well as a lesser-known player and coach, Damon Jones, so far the 3 names that we know. But we'll start with Rozier. This comes after an investigation was reported by the Wall Street Journal into him, a federal investigation back in January that looked into a game back when he played for the Charlotte Hornets in 2023, where there was strange betting patterns that emerged in a game where he left early, Bill, after playing only 10 minutes with a foot injury, and there were a lot of bets on the under for his points, rebounds, and assists. So that has been reported in the investigation into Rozier. We'll learn more at 10 o'clock about the details with him. Chauncey Billups is a bit of a different case at this point, Bill. From our information, he is allegedly involved in a poker scheme with the American-Italian Mafia. And then Damon Jones is a former NBA player and coach as well, arrested. And this is all related to the same investigation that ultimately landed a lifetime ban for Jontay Porter, a former player for the Toronto Raptors, who admitted to altering his performance in games so that other people could make money off of prop bets for his performance in those games. Now, the NBA investigated Rozier, and he was cleared as part of the NBA investigation, which explains why yesterday he was active for the Heat's game against the Orlando Magic. He did not play because of a coach's decision, but the federal investigation has been ongoing in the background, and we are certainly expecting, and sports fans everywhere who are concerned about the integrity of the game are really looking forward to this news conference to learn everything that we can. The NBA Commissioner Adam Silver certainly has quite a mess here on his hands, but FBI Director Kash Patel and Joe Nacella, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, will be leading this news conference at 10, and we'll bring it here live, Bill. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Nate, thanks. Come back with more information when you get it. Just want to point one thing out. A prop bet is somewhat new. That's not when you bet a team to win or lose. It's when you bet on a single player to perform. Perhaps points, bet more points or less points, and that seems to be at the heart of a lot of this right now. Nate, thanks for that. Dana's got more right now.
And Michelle Tafoya, former NFL sideline reporter. She also covered Chauncey in the NBA, and Donna Ratuna. She is a Fox News contributor, and it's great to have you both. Michelle, could I start with you just to Set the stage for us, because this is all breaking news and it might be kind of confusing for a lot of people, especially if there are different charges for different types of gambling all in this one fell swoop.
I was shocked about Chauncey Billups, having covered him as both a player and a coach. But his gambling accusation, as Nate mentioned, has to do with poker. So it's totally unrelated to the game. At least it seems so at this point. But as for the players Bill mentioned, at these prop bets, these are easily manipulated. And there was a guy on Twitter, on X now, who posted about that game in 2023 regarding Rozier that got lucky that I was fed some inside info that Rozier was leaving in the first or second quarter so that his unders would hit. So these players who want to help out a buddy or affect, somebody's income can make a call and say, look, I'm not going to play that long. And they can manipulate how these bets come out. Now, I can remember a time when gambling was completely disassociated with pro sports, but not only have they accepted it, they've embraced it. When I went to turn on an NBA game last night, the sideline reporter was holding a microphone that said FanDuel on it. So FanDuel, one of the largest platforms for gambling, now televises games.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just going to add that I was just telling Bill early this morning, because I'm very interested in sports gambling, not because I participate, but because I think it's dangerous for especially young people. But just last night, the NHL, the hockey league, said that this is all going to be a part of the hockey league now. So it's all happening within the last hour.
So Nate Silver is the commissioner of the NBA, as Nate pointed out a moment ago. 11 years ago, Donna, he was talking about getting federal legislation for this. Since that time, 39 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico have all launched these legal betting markets. And Michelle, you're right. You can't turn on the TV or look at your phone without seeing an ad for FanDuel or DraftKings or you name it. What Silver is calling for, and Donna, maybe we're not even at this point just yet, he's calling for federal legislation to make it more streamlined in the world of gambling, so you don't have 39 different states operating under different rules. Donna, how do you see it right now?
Well, I think that's a possibility. Obviously, the legislature will determine how this moves forward in terms of what the rules are. But when we look at these, the problem is, and I'm sure, Mr. Silver is aware, as is every single person who's placing a bet, the integrity of the game and the integrity of betting on the games is going to have to really, really be under a lot of scrutiny. Because if you're a regular online bettor, what is going to make you want to place a bet if you think the system is rigged? And here we are in a world where that is such a large revenue stream. It's such a big business that if it is not regulated in some way, we're going to find ourselves in this situation where the whole thing could come crumbling down, and then there's no integrity anywhere. And I think that's really why Mr. Silver is asking for some type of regulation.
Michelle, we only have a couple of seconds left, but I want to ask you, when the press conference happens at the top of the hour, what are you going to be looking for to hear from the FBI?
Well, I'm certainly going to be interested to hear how these poker charges and all these different cases are connected. But certainly, there's going to be an example made for exactly that reason. Integrity of the game matters. This is a massive business. Sports betting is a huge industry now. And if you have a player or two who is manipulating the outcome, that is insider trading. And so I think the consequences need to be lifetime bans. And I think that's the only way you're going to get players' attention to stop with this. But it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, indeed. Adam Silver, not Nate Silver. Nate Foy, right? Okay, I crossed the lines there. Ladies, what I think here, what Nate Foy was describing there is you've got one guy in poker bets with mafia connections. How does that relate to NBA prop bets over how much money, how many points a guy's going to score on the court? All this needs to be answered, and we'll follow it 34 minutes.
And it happens the morning after opening night?
Yeah, I think opening night was Tuesday night. It was last night.
It's really interesting.
A lot of teams getting the season going.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you, Donna. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right, some breaking news is catching everybody by surprise. The FBI arresting NBA player Terry Rozier early this morning in connection with a widespread sports betting investigation, and he's not the only one.
This is huge news. Nate Ford joins us live from Brooklyn with the latest. Good morning, Nate.
Hey, guys, good morning. Yeah, breaking news that is sure to rock the sports world. You mentioned Terry Rozier, and he's not the only one. Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers and a multi-time All-Star, a Finals MVP back in his playing days, also arrested this morning as part of an FBI investigation into illegal sports gambling. Now, Rozier, he was arrested in Orlando this morning. And he was there because the Miami Heat played the Orlando Magic last night. Rozier was active for that game, but he did not play as part of a coach's decision. Now, this all comes after the Wall Street Journal reported back in January that Rozier was under federal investigation related to a 2023 game back when he played for the Charlotte Hornets, where there was a surge of suspicious gambling activity related to the under on his performance with points, rebounds, and assists in a game where Rozier ended up leaving after about 10 minutes with an ankle injury. So the Wall Street Journal report detailed it so that it appeared that perhaps Rozier was accused of changing his performance in the game in order for other people to make money on his bets or on their bets. Now, this is part of an investigation that also landed a lifetime ban for Jonte Porter, a former Toronto Raptors player who pleaded guilty to his role. He's awaiting sentencing in December. We are expecting a news conference here at 10 o'clock with FBI Director Kash Patel and Joe Nocella, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. So we will be covering that throughout the morning. Big news rocking the sports world. We'll send it back to you guys.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to grow from here. Thanks so much, Nate. So there's a lot of speculation going on. The commissioner gave an interview saying he wanted more regulation when it comes to gambling. Maybe he knew this was coming.
It's going to be a huge investigation. I think you mentioned Jim Trusty may be representing.
He's representing Rozier.
He used to be in the prosecutor's office for New York, so he's a big-time attorney.
Right now, court appearances across the country for those indicted in a massive mob-linked sports betting ring. Current and former NBA stars, including Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups, among those charged. The feds say the operation stretched across 11 states and involved high-tech gambling and game rigging schemes. Correspondent Nate Foy has got the latest. He's live outside the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse. Wow, this is a big one, Nate.
Yeah, it certainly is rocking the sports world today, John. As you mentioned, court appearances are underway right now, including with members of the Mafia and other New York-based defendants just across the street from where we are. Other court appearances set to happen soon across the country. There are two indictments at play here. One is about an illegal rigged poker scheme that involves two former NBA coaches and players. The other involves a current active NBA player accused of altering his performance during a game as part of a sports gambling scheme. That player is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. He was arrested in Orlando early this morning after his team played the Magic last night. He did not play in the game. He's scheduled to appear in federal court in about 20 minutes. Rozier's accused of purposely leaving a game with a phantom injury so that he and his co-conspirators, including his childhood friend, could make tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, NBA Hall of Famer and current Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups was also arrested in Portland this morning for the rigged poker scheme. Now, Billups is scheduled to appear in federal court at 4:30 Eastern time. He's accused of working with the Mafia to defraud victims who thought they were playing fair poker games that were anything but. One person lost $1.8 million in a single game.
Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor.
So, John, take a look at this. Here is one of those shuffling machines. Prosecutors say they read the cards, predicted which player had the best hand, and then relayed that information to a so-called quarterback who would then use signals to communicate with Billups and others during the games. Prosecutors say the defendants also used X-ray tables to secretly view each player's cards. The NBA put out a statement that reads in part, quote, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. Now, former NBA player and coach Damon Jones is listed in both indictments. So he's accused of partaking in the rigged poker games and selling insider information to profit off bets on NBA games. Now, the allegations involve several NBA teams, and not every single person is named in the indictment, but one game that is in question was a 2023 Portland Trail Blazers game where there were a lot of bets placed on it, and the Trailblazers sat 4 of their starters in that game. Now, during that time, Billups was the head coach of the Trailblazers, but he's not facing any charges related to that game. This is an ongoing investigation, and it's part of the same investigation that resulted in a lifetime ban for former Toronto Raptors player Jonte Porter, who admitted to altering his performances during games so that people, including himself, could profit off of these prop bets. We'll send it back to you, John.
You know, if you presented that to a movie studio as a script, they'd say, it's too far-fetched. Nobody will buy it. Nate Foy for us. Thanks, Nate.
It reminds me of the 1979 Boston College point-shaving scandal, John.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not old enough to remember that. Thank you, Nate.
All right, let's bring in Fox and Friends co-host Brian Kilmeade and former NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow, a Fox News contributor. Brian, you're familiar with every corner of the sports world. I mean, heads are exploding right now.
I know that you really got two things going on. I think, it's serious in terms of legal stuff on the modified card shuffling, the games in East Hampton, the games in Las Vegas, and I get it. But I think the bigger story is in the sports world, because you have this Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, who's right now just in the card game, but we'll see if the indictment spreads out. The one thing about betting, the one thing about games, the one thing that puts people in the seats, they think the game is not rigged. They think it's not fixed. The minute you fix the game, where people go there and go, and who's getting paid off? Man, that was a bad pass. I wonder if that person is got a prop bet on the side, is involved in it. Then everything falls apart. You can't have gambling. It doesn't have authenticity. And then people will pay for a ticket for a game that they think is somehow predetermined. Yeah. And now the betting falls apart, the game falls apart, the league falls apart. That's why I'm wondering if it gets bigger than this. Terry Rozier and Damon Jones, a former player, not the biggest names in the world. I'm wondering because the day before we hear about the commissioner of the NBA saying we need more rules when it comes to gambling. Why was he saying that?
So Terry Rozier's attorney just happens to be Jim Trusty, who will be familiar with many people who watch this program because we have him on TV a lot. He said this, quote, "It's unfortunate that instead of allowing him to self-surrender, they opted for a photo op. They wanted the misplaced glory of embarrassing a professional athlete with a perp walk. That tells you a lot about the motivations in this case. They appear to be taking the word of spectacularly incredible sources rather than relying on actual evidence of wrongdoing. Terry was cleared by the NBA, and these prosecutors revived that non-case. Terry is not a gambler, but he's not afraid of a fight, and he looks forward to winning this fight." His last contract, 4-year extensions, worth $96 million. He makes $24 million a year. Why does he need a few 10,000s in gambling?
Yeah, you got to ask yourself that. I mean, the reason, to be clear, and I know a lot of people are asking this, why aren't they not going to the legal outlets to make gambling bets? And one of the things that's implicated here is the fact that if you win from a bookie, mob-linked or otherwise, you don't have to pay the taxes. So if you're really gambling a lot of money, but it's on the books with a service over the internet, you have to pay the taxes. The other thing is that if you're losing and you find yourself short, they will happily loan you money.
Yes.
And that's where we get into the extortion charges, which are in this indictment.
Yeah, one could make the case that they were already deeply in gambling debt and trying to get their way out of it. I'm sure we're going to learn more details. This is the FBI Director, Kash Patel, really sort of, I guess, describing the vastness of this. Listen.
The fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Are you just sort of surprised that we're still, I don't know, that this is happening?
Yeah. How about this? I mean, 4 crime families.
Yeah.
They say it's very rare for these families to work together, but they agree for this.
Everybody loves basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they get protection, debt collection, you know what that means, in exchange for a cut of the winnings. In turn, too, I think it's pretty interesting that they have all this high-tech technical device, whether it's earpieces, whether it's x-ray vision, whether it's certain things in your glasses or contacts. This is like Ocean's 11 or whatever number they're up to now, Ocean's 13. I think it's nuts. But people say that if you're addicted to gambling, if the first reason why we're not addicted to gambling, and we say, how could you risk a $25 million contract for a $10,000 bet? But even though Jim Trusty says his client's not, they say it's typical of people addicted. They want the adrenaline and the rush, and they just want to win, even though it doesn't seem to make sense because you have $26 million. You're not betting the ranch, and you can pay the mortgage.
Final word to you, Paul.
Well, so yeah, the 4 of the 5 families are involved. Interestingly, here the Colombos are not, and that's Brooklyn territory. The indictment's in Brooklyn, so it looks like maybe they're on the
You
outs.
have the territories down?
Well, yeah. Well, Brooklyn's traditional.
Hello.
Colombo.
All you gotta,
I forgot.
The accent, that says it all.
I'm not in the indictment. Let me be clear. All right. There's a number of people who are not in the indictment who are not named. Those are likely going to be flips. Interestingly, no RICO charges here, but I'm sure they're working on trying to get something organizational here to get the big bang of the RICO charges. And look, what it really comes down to is we've had these before. There was a fixing scandal in the NBA just a number of years ago, Operation
Apparently
Flagrant
there was a
Frown.
point shaving in 1979. But
Right, yeah, you too.
And in fact, going back to Hollywood, in the Friars Club, they had a fixed poker game. They were watching with a camera through the roof, and they were ripping off big Hollywood names. They know institutionally, that is the mafia, they know how to do this stuff institutionally, and that's the big force multiplier for them, the organization. That's kind of what sets them apart.
Hey,
Gambling's gone mainstream. Every other ad is gambling with the biggest names in sports and celebrities. John Hamm, Shaquille O'Neal.
A lot of money
So
to
it's
be made.
amazing that anyone's not betting.
You're bored, and you got money.
Right. You're not talking.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.